We love manual gearboxes, but sometimes we have to admit that a car is better off without a third pedal. These are cars that either have a manual option but are better in automatic, cars that used to offer a manual and don't anymore, or cars with a predecessor that had a manual but are now paddle only. Here are 11 cars that are better off auto, according to you. Porsche 911 GT3 RS. With the introduction of the 991 generation 911 GT3 RS, the manual gearbox was gone. While the base 911 GT3 should absolutely have a manual as an option, the GT3 RS is for track duty, fast track duty, and there's no faster gearbox than PDK. It fits the purpose of the car perfectly. BMW M3, M4. While you can get a manual on the M3 and M4, you don't really want it. The way the turbocharged inline-six delivers power is perfectly suited to a dual clutch. If you want to take advantage of that mountain of torque, you need the DCT. And if you really want a manual in your M car, then you want the slightly less powerful M2. Ferrari 488 GTB. Ferrari hasn't offered a manual in its mid-engine V8 powered car since the 430. While the 458 probably would have been great with a manual, the turbo power of the 488 GTB demands an automatic. It's so fast, you probably couldn't keep up, and then you'd have a jerky mess of bad shifts, poor power delivery, and you'd look like an amateur. Nissan GT-R. The Nissan GT-R is an exercise in meticulousness. The engines are assembled in a clean room, the tires are filled with nitrogen, everything is poured over until it's perfect. It's the most Japanese car you can buy, and the gearbox is an extension of that. It's one with the engine and the all-wheel drive system. Adding a clutch pedal would mess with the character of the car. McLaren P1. The McLaren P1's predecessor is the McLaren F1. Like the F1, the P1 is an exercise in building the ultimate road car. In this case, the P1 is a high-tech tour de force with a hybrid powertrain, carbon fiber construction, and a dual-clutch gearbox to harness all that power. And it works perfectly. LaFerrari. While the Enzo might have been better if it offered a manual, the LaFerrari would be worse for it. Delivering nearly 1,000 horsepower with a manual just wouldn't work. Porsche 918. Porsche's supercars tend to reflect the prevailing tech in sports car racing at the time they're built. The Carrera GT was lightweight and simple, a V10 monster with a simple 6-speed gearbox to change gears. The 918 is as complex as cars can get, with a high-revving V8, all-wheel drive, hybrid assist, and a paddle gearbox. It's as close as you can get to an LMP1 car for the road. Koenigsegg 1. In all honesty, the 1 would probably be fantastic with a manual. However, the intent of the car isn't straight-line speed. Koenigsegg wants to set huge track records with this car. And if they want to be fast at Spa, the Nürburgring, and elsewhere, then they need to give a driver the ability to concentrate on the track and not necessarily on shifting. The move to paddles is a big help. Lamborghini Huracan. While we think that the Huracan might actually be better with a manual, Lamborghini's head of R&D, Maurizio Reggiani, knows that the car would be worse. Here's what he told us in an interview: all the systems that are integrated in the car need to have a dialogue with one another. The clutch is one of the fuses of the system, whether you're engaging or disengaging the torque. This creates a hole in the communication between what the engine is able to provide and how the car reacts to the power of the engine. For this reason, unfortunately, I must say I am sure that in a premium supersports car like the Huracan, we will only do a semi-automatic. Unfortunately, it's the demand of the control of the chassis. If you want to control the chassis, you must control the power. If you want to control the power, the clutch must be under the control of the brain of the car, not your brain. Ford F-150 Raptor. Manual trucks are nice, but there's no keeping up with the 10-speed auto featured in the latest F-150 Raptor. When left in automatic mode, it always seems to be in the right gear, ready to deliver all that EcoBoost torque at a moment's notice. Porsche 911 Turbo. While much of the 911 range is best enjoyed in manual spec, the top-tier 540 horsepower Turbo and 580 horsepower Turbo S are much better suited to the fast-shifting 7-speed PDK dual-clutch. Being a well-rounded everyday supercar means it needs to cater to all types of people and situations, and the Turbo does just that.